Hi, my name is Carly, and this is my presentation for Faith Over Care. I do have my iPad sitting in front of me just with my script notes for the presentation if I am looking down throughout it. So let's begin. Picture this. Imagine needing birth control or hormone therapy or even just basic mental health care and being told no. Not because of a medical reason, but because someone else's beliefs, religious beliefs, don't agree with who you are. That's real and that's legal in some cases, and that's what I'm talking about today. So why does this matter? I chose this topic because it's both deeply personal and undeniably political. As someone who believes in equity and inclusive care, I find it very troubling and honestly heartbreaking that people are being denied essential services simply because of who they are and what they may need. This isn't just some abstract policy issue. These are real people in real communities facing rejection when they're most vulnerable. And while faith can be absolutely a source of healing and saving grace, it's being used here as a tool for exemption. So, what are religious exemptions? In short, they are legal provisions that allow individuals or institutions to refuse services or treatment based on their sincerely held religious beliefs. At first glance, this might seem like a reasonable accommodation, but in practice, it can create major gaps in care, especially when those beliefs conflict with someone's medical needs or identity. LGBTQ plus youth and young women often bear the brunt of this, facing barriers to services like contraception, hormone therapy, mental health counseling, and more. On the right side of the screen, I did create a little flow chart of how it goes from the belief to denial to harming the patient. Now, according to a 2022 report by Williams Institute, public opinion is sharply divided on this issue. Women and younger adults are generally more opposed to religious exemptions in healthcare. On the other hand, support for these exemptions is highest among politically conservative and religious groups. This tells us that the issue isn't just about policy, it's about values. The divide reflects competing ideas about whose rights should be prioritized: the provider's right to act on personal belief or the patient's right to access to care. I did again put in a chart on the right side of the screen that shows the percentages of people for opposed to the religious exemptions. The impact of these exemptions is also not at all hypothetical. The Human Rights Watch documented real-life examples where pharmacists refused to dispense emergency contraception even in cases of sexual assault, and where therapists turned away LGBTQ plus clients seeking mental health support. Denying care in these moments doesn't just delay treatment, it also inflicts psychological harm, increases trauma, and contributes to health disparities. As Human Rights Watch puts it, refusals of care sends a message that certain people are not worthy of dignity or compassion, and that is just not true. This issue also extends into schools and education. Under Title IX, religious institutions can apply for exemptions that legally permit them to discriminate against LGBTQ plus students. As reported by D'Ambrosio in 2021 and Morgan in 2018, students at these schools have been expelled for coming out, denied campus housing, or even prohibited from transitioning. What's worse is that many of these schools do not at all disclose this sort of exemption to their applicants. This means that the students find out often after it's way too late. This creates hostile learning environments and puts students at physical and emotional risk. The psychological toll is also very staggering. According to the Human Rights Campaign of 2023, 45% of youth LGBTQ community individuals considered suicide in the past year. For transgender and non-binary youth, the rates are even higher. This isn't because of who they are, but it's because of how they're treated. When youth are denied care, excluded from services, or made to feel unsafe in schools or communities, it directly impacts their mental health. Conversely, affirming environments, significantly reduce depression, anxiety, and suicide risk, so the data is clear. Acceptance does save lives. From a legal standpoint, this issue often plays out in the courts. Kazayek, in 2024, analyzed 50 different federal cases involving religious exemptions. In majority of these cases, the courts did side with religious freedom, even when it was clear evidence that it was harm to the patients. This is what points to a troubling pattern. When belief is elevated above someone else's health or civil rights, we have to question the balance of our legal system. Are we protecting religious liberty, or are we justifying exclusion? As for legal loopholes and religious justification, a review by Ruse in 2019 offers a powerful critique about how legal arguments are being shaped. In some cases, defendants have claimed that not being allowed to discriminate in and of itself is a form of discrimination. It's a strategy that reframes exclusion as a right, and it's increasingly being accepted in courts. This creates dangerous loopholes where religious belief becomes a shield against accountability. It flips the script. Instead of protecting and vulnerable populations, the law is used to defend those who it is used to serve. Okay, and then moving forward, the global lessons. So, this isn't just an issue in the United States. Another study by Horbakasvek in 2024 looked at the businesses in Ukraine and how they responded to LGBTQ+ rights. Some ignored the issue, some stayed neutral, but others also took a public stand in support of LGBTQ+ communities. This shows us that organizations, even in those that are conservative or religious contexts, have choices. Visibility and policy alignment can make a real difference, and U.S. institutions should take note of that. Remaining silent is often a choice too, and one that harms marginalized groups. I did insert another sort of chart at the top that shows the sort of choices they have and what happens when they choose those to the communities. Now, what can be done? First, we need to limit or remove religious exemptions in publicly funded spaces like hospitals and schools. If you serve the public, you should serve everyone. Second, all public-facing institutions should be required to adopt clear non-discrimination policies that are actively enforced. Third, we must invest in training for school and healthcare staff so they understand how to support LGBTQ+ youth and young women and not stigmatize them. We also need more inclusive health centers and support programs that prioritize things such as safety and access to care. So, to wrap it up, religious freedom is an important right, and it should never come at the cost of another person's dignity, health, or safety. This project opened my eyes to just how religion is used to justify harm in the name of care. We need to rethink how faith is used in law and policy, and it's time to stop accepting discrimination under the label of religious liberty. Care should be unconditional. Everyone deserves access, dignity, and respect, no matter who they are or who they love. Thank you. And here is my works cited on the following page.